it. The legal limit is 40 for the annual limit, and after 3 months it was telling us the annual limit was destined to be about 79. So again, legal limit of 40, 40.7 equals a 5% reduced lung capacity for children. So in my area, it's 5, maybe 10%, maybe more reduced lung capacity, and I'm just supposed to accept that for my children and for the hundreds of thousands of children who live on these polluted roads. Now, the children most at risk are the ones who live on polluted roads, attend schools on polluted roads, and travel on these polluted roads. And we look to say, well, when is their greatest exposure? And we I checked it, it's not at home, it's bad. We live near a main road, but actually when you're away from it, it's not so bad. It's actually when you're next to the vehicles. And so we measured it and said, okay, well, how bad does it go across the day? Because this lovely machine can also look at hourly, can actually measure per minute. And what we noticed was, when traffic is congested and when traffic is idling, you get 2, 3, 4 times the levels of pollution. So at the time our children are travelling to school during morning peak, pollution levels are toxic. It's not just 40, 50, 60, it's 200, 250, 300. Just for that small period of time, and then it all settles back down again, so the average comes out as around 40, or in my case 80, but actually at the time our children are travelling, it's in the hundreds. And this stuff is no human exposure by the World Health Organization. Our children are breathing this. Remember, we're measuring up here and it's saying it's 200, 300, our children are breathing all the way down here. So I contacted TfL and the newspapers, and I wrote, I said, look, we've got these bus stops, they're right next to the curb. You've told us we need to stay away from main roads, but that's kind of difficult because that's where the bus stops are. You've told us to stay away from the curb because pollution is much lower if you can increase the distance between yourself and the source, but the bus shelters are right next to the curb. And when it's raining, that's where our children stand. When it's sunny, that's where our children stand, because it's a shelter, but it doesn't shelter them from this terrible pollution. So came up with an idea and simply said, okay, could we have a keep clear sign and just simply put it in front of the bus shelter? It's not a full solution, but what it will do is actually put a couple of meters distance between the vehicle exhaust pipe and our children's faces. And the researchers said, yes, that will work. You can actually reduce air pollution by 5 times in terms of nanoparticles and so on and so forth, 5 times. Brilliant idea. Okay, Evening Standard run with it, put a nice story in there, thank you. And they said, oh, TfL, what do you say? And TfL said, well, we'll happily meet David Smith, have a discussion about that. So I went up to head office, met with TfL, sat down with Alex Williams, director, and he said, oh, David, yes, that's a very good idea. We need to find somewhere where we can test that. I said, well, you could use my bus stop. It's a really good place. Oh, yes, but we need to measure it before and after to see how that works. I said, well, actually, I've got a monitor, it's there already, so come and do it and you'll know how it works. Ah, but we've got to make sure it's the right monitor. I said, well, the mayor's just ordered 100 of these for the Breathe London campaign, so pretty damn good. Can we please get on with it? 9 months later, nothing happens, and I get a letter saying people wouldn't understand why they should stop idling next to people at bus shelters. That's the reason why it's not happening. People wouldn't understand why. I said it's a keep clear sign, they don't need to understand why. It says keep clear, they keep clear. They stop there, when the traffic moves, they accelerate there, they idle there, they accelerate there, and they drive past. It's that simple. That's what they currently do, that's what they'll do. He said, but we'd have to market this and we'd have to do some sort of communications and that costs money. I'm like, guys, you get 300 million. Let me repeat that number. 300 million from JCDecaux for advertising at these bus shelters. Yeah, those big posters you see on the bus shelters, 300 million. And maybe that's why the bus shelters are so close to the curb, because so everyone else can see the adverts that much better, but the problem is it's poisoning on our children. So, again, I had another opportunity. Time Out said, how would you like to interview the mayor? This is only a couple of months ago, so I said, yep, we'll do that. Went up, met the mayor, in the mayor's office at City Hall, and I said to him, what can we do about this? He said, well, I've heard that DFT say no. I'm like, well, actually, I've written to DFT, DFT have written to me and TfL, and I said, actually, it's up to TfL. So it's up to TfL, and they're choosing not to do it. Okay, what else can I talk to the mayor about while I'm here? Because obviously this isn't working. I said, what about idling outside schools and nurseries? Because when children go to school and nursery, they should be able to go in there without actually ruining their brains, because this stuff gets past the blood-brain barrier. And you've got all these cars outside, they're not in traffic, they're parked, but they're keeping their engines running. Why? Charging a mobile phone, listening to music, whatever the reasons are, these aren't good enough reasons to keep your engine running while children are trying to breathe. They said, okay, well, the current law is it's illegal. You're not allowed to idle. However, if I or you see someone idling outside a nursery or outside a school and we approach them, they can tell us to find someone else to talk to. They don't have to do what we ask. They can keep their engines running. That's just the way it is. You have to then speak to the council to send an authorised person down. That authorised person then knocks on the window and says, excuse me, can you turn your engine off? And then they have to give them 2 minutes grace period in order to turn their engines off. Now, 1 minute of idling is about 150 balloons filled with toxic gas. Remember, it's carcinogenic. It's got things like cyanide in it. So 2 minutes waiting is having a massive impact. And if you've got 5, 10 vehicles outside schools, massive impact. So we're actually saying, okay, well, what happens then? Well, you go to see them, and you say, please, we're going to fine you now, and they turn their engine off or they drive away. No one got fined in Wandsworth last year. No one got fined in Camden last year. No one got fined in Reading last year. No one gets fined for idling. Because the comfort and convenience of drivers is more important than the health of our children. And it shouldn't be that way. So, we went back and said, okay, look, we've started up a petition. It's a no to idling. See the sign just there when it stops blowing around. So if you type in no to idling into Google, NO2 idling, you'll see the petition on change.org. We've already got 1,100 signatures, and what it says is, how about this? We take the registration of an engine of a vehicle that's idling. We speak to the driver and say, please don't idle. It's against the law. Here's some information on air pollution. Here's some information on climate change. Here's some information on what the impact is having on children and yourself, because it can be 9 to 12 times higher inside a vehicle because you're trapped in this little gas box. Please don't idle. If you do so again, you'll get a fine. Now, previously they could drive away, come back the next day and idle again, and would have to go through the process of giving them 2 minutes, waiting for them, all the rest of it. Now, instant fine. Second time. So it's just one warning and a fine. And that's what the campaign is for NO2 idling. So we need 100,000 signatures. I've managed to get about 1,100. Made a start, okay. But what I really need is people to come up and say, well, hang on a second, this is our children we're talking about. We need to make a statement, because actually, whether you're idling, the impact it's having on air pollution, we don't want that. The impact it's having on climate change in terms of all this extra CO2 going into the air and warming our planet, we don't want that. So if you're not driving, you're not moving from A to B, turn your engine off. I mean, it's just such a waste of fuel, and it's not doing us any good or our children any good. So that's that one. Okay, quickly, another couple of minutes. The last one, because there's a petition for the bus stops as well, and that's on change.org. But the last one was, I live on West Hill, the A3. Now, I've been told that pollution on the A3 will get resolved